Who loves some Daredevil? Who loved Born Again? And who is ready for season 2? All right, let's get started. You know him as Matt Murdock, Daredevil. Let's bring out Charlie Cox! Charlie! It's great seeing you, sir. All right, you know him as Wilson Fisk. He is the mayor of New York, Mr. Vincent D'Onofrio! Yes, there he is. Hello, sir. The next person is one of my favorite characters, probably the moral compass of Matt Murdock. Let's bring up Elden Henson. You know what's going on, Henson? Yeah. Hello, Elden. Now, the next person I want to bring up, he is a wild card, if you will. You know him as Benjamin Poindexter, Dex. Let's bring him up, Wilson Bethel! Yeah, let's hear the cast of Daredevil, everybody! All right. Welcome to LA Comic-Con. How you guys doing? Fantastic. All right, we are going to be taking fan questions, but before we get into that, I love LA Comic-Con because you fans turn out. I love seeing the cosplay. I love seeing you guys wear your fandom on your sleeve. So everyone on this panel, what are some fandoms that you're into? They don't necessarily have to be like, you know, like video games or comic books. What are some fandoms that you enjoy?
Go ahead.
Wilson, you got a Dodger hat on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Dodger fan. I didn't know we were like talking about sports and stuff.
Yeah, of course. We're talking.
Yeah, I'm a Dodger fan. I know Elden's a Dodger fan. He's repping.
So we got some baseball fandom. Vincent, Charlie, you guys got any fandoms that you're into?
Yeah, I'm a big Arsenal fan. It's a football team in the UK.
I know Arsenal.
Yeah, I'm a big Arsenal fan.
I think I'm a Wrexham guy. They're working their way to the top. Vincent, how about you?
I got nothing.
Got nothing. We're gonna come back to you on that. Look, before we start getting into Daredevil, each of you have been in incredible projects that I kind of want to highlight real quick. And I want to start with you, Charlie, because you got to work early on in your career with Matthew Vaughn on Stardust. Can you share? Yeah, let's hear it for Stardust. Incredible film, incredible cast. Can you share any early memories working with Matthew and that incredible cast in that film?
Yeah, so the first memory that comes to mind is when we were rehearsing, we were getting ready to start shooting. It was like one of the first days of rehearsal. And you know, I hadn't met anyone yet. I didn't know who was in this movie other than me. And they asked me to come down to Pinewood Studios to rehearse. And so I got in this car, I went down to Pinewood Studios outside London, and someone met me and they said, yeah, we're just going to do a little rehearsal with Bob. And I didn't know who Bob was, so I was like, okay, just, you know, I followed along. And then we went into one of the studios and Mr. Robert De Niro was waiting in there. And I had to do a fencing rehearsal with Robert De Niro, which is pretty surreal moment for a 22-year-old actor.
Seems quite intimidating.
He's pretty cool.
For a young actor. Speaking of young actors, Vincent, early on in your career, you worked with one of the most iconic directors of our time, Stanley Kubrick. Full Metal Jacket, still such an outstanding. Yes, let's hear it for that. Still an outstanding performance to this day. Incredible film and timely, by the way. But your character work, the roles that you take, you disappear into them. So working with Stanley, can you talk about that experience? And is there any bit of direction that he gave you, or anything at all that he gave you that you still take with you today?
Well, so that was my first film, so I was very lucky.
Yes.
So I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for Stanley casting me that. So I really didn't know much about anything other than theater at the time. Anybody that's ever worked with Kubrick will tell you that he doesn't direct you. Like he's very quiet, and if he feels like the scene isn't working, he would say stuff like, "You have to do it better." To me that was like, okay, Stanley Kubrick is putting me on the spot, so I better show up. You know what I mean? And so I remember that's the only thing he said to me, really said that anything to do with the character, is he was sort of checking on me. There's a scene in the movie, I don't know if you guys remember, but I killed the drill instructor and then I killed myself in the bathroom. Yeah. And the night before we were going to do that, Matthew Modine and I were walking back to our cars, and Stanley, and by the way, Stanley was a super nice guy. He wasn't what you might think he was if you know anything about what people say. He was a really sweet man, but he had this tick where before he would speak, he would go. So Matthew and I are walking to our cars, and I hear behind me, and I'm like, oh fuck, he's gonna say something. And I turn around, and he goes, do you know what you're gonna do tomorrow? Because we were gonna shoot that scene in the morning. And I said, I think I do, yeah. And he didn't answer me, and he just nodded his head. And he said, it has to be big, it has to be Lon Chaney big, like that. And Matthew turned and looked at me, and I looked at Matthew because Matthew and I lived next door, literally like a half a block away from each other in London when we were shooting it. And he looked at me, and I looked at him because at my flat, back at my flat, on the dining room table was a stack of black and white horror films that I had been watching, and a couple of them were Lon Chaney films. And so it was like a gift, like from nowhere. He confirmed what I was about to try and get away with the next day. He confirmed to me in that same sentence that I was on the right track. I don't know how he knew or what. It was like magic.
Sometimes the universe just lines up like that. That's incredible. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Incredible story. Elden, for you, man, you were such a pivotal part of my childhood. I wanted to be a Bash brother. I'm not going to lie to you. I was jealous of Kenny Wu. I'm going to tell you that right now. But being a young actor in Hollywood and working on the Mighty Ducks and doing the acting thing, can you talk about those early memories of acting alongside that ensemble cast? And also, who was the best skater out of all the other Mighty Ducks?
That's a good question. Yeah, I can talk about both of those things. Probably my brother probably got the best after like the third movie. He got really good and kept playing hockey for a while. And yeah, those movies are really special. Up until that point, I had done a lot of, like one-line parts or like guest spots on TV shows and stuff, and that really changed everything for me. And and then also to get to do all three of those movies with my brother was insane. And I don't think I fully appreciated it at the time. When you're a kid, you just kind of like, all right, this is what's happening. Like, it's normal. I guess it's normal. But yeah, and it's funny. To this day, most of what people want signed is Mighty Ducks stuff.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, kind of cool that people still care about it a little bit. For me, when I was young, it was Bad News Bears was my, it was like my version of Mighty Ducks. So like, it's just a really special experience, and still keep in touch with a lot of those people, and I really lucked out on that.
Listen, we care. We absolutely care about the Mighty Ducks. For me, Mighty Ducks 2, D2, is my version of Rocky 4. So, just to let you know.
So I showed my kids the Mighty Ducks for the first time, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And, it's like, it was my generation, so I'm interested to know, I didn't say that I knew you or anything like that. I just was like, we're going to watch this movie, and we put it on. And they fucking loved it.
Incredible.
They absolutely loved it. And they don't actually respond to movies as much as TV in general. But that's one of those films they're already like, can we watch this? Can we watch it again? Yeah, it's really cool.
I love that.
Wilson, for you,
I already know what you're gonna say.
Do you?
But yeah, look, my 8th grade production of Guys and Dolls, yes. People are still talking about it. In certain circles, people come up to me, can I sign Nathan Detroit memorabilia?
That was the one-man show, right?
Yeah.
That's the talk of the
I played
town.
all the parts. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
Honestly, just this past year, you were in an incredible Netflix series, and I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but it's called Untamed. with Eric Bana. It is a fantastic series. And you play Shane McGuire, who's not terribly far off from Benjamin Poindexter, but he's definitely wired a little bit differently. But the last time I talked to you, there was these Native American symbols that would pop up in the episode with Sam Neill's character, and I asked you, do you know what all that was leading to? And you said, well, I'm having dinner with the showrunner tonight, I'm going to ask him. So I'm going to ask you now, did you get the answer for me on what those Native American symbol in Untamed mean?
No, I think that somehow slipped the conversation, yeah.
I figured it was going to. Now, but honestly, Untamed is a phenomenal show. I highly recommend checking it out. It's airing on Netflix currently. A fantastic show. But guys, you guys want to talk about Daredevil. Do we have any questions? There we are. Okay, where are our microphones at? If we could see. No, we have somebody roaming around. But
I can throw this one out there.
I was down there in the last panel going down there, so any of you guys got questions, we are going to get to them. Raise your hand if you have the mic though, down there. No? No? All right, guys, I'm taking one for the team. I'm gonna go down there and get some questions.
Can you crowd surf in there?
Wish me luck. Oh, here we go. They're coming out now. So yeah, we have questions about Daredevil Season 2, but before we get into their fan questions, I do have one of my own. The show is called Born Again. That's obviously a famous comic book run that was done, but what does that term Born Again mean for each of your characters in Season 1?
It's an interesting title for Charlie and I think, if I may, because not just anything that has to do with the canon of Daredevil, but for Charlie and I, it was Born Again, the show. And I think for the studio too, and all the producers that were involved, and I think they were really looking to make it Born Again, from the Netflix show.
And, Season 2 on Netflix, the original Season 2, was kind of the Born Again story. As close to it as well. We were never trying to do, I don't think they were ever trying to do the Born Again story. It's a nice kind of like tongue-in-cheek title because obviously the show had died and was coming back.
Well, the show was killed. Murdered.
One thing that, by the way, Wilson, we are wearing the same color almost, I just realized. And Charlie pointed out backstage.
We look beautiful.
We do. I was at Fantastic Fest in Austin just this past week, and I ran into Justin Vincent. And something that you guys may not know is he told me how much you guys care about these characters and this show. Like, you guys deeply care about these characters to the point now, I think Daredevil is probably some of the best stuff Marvel has been doing for a while. And I love the grounded nature of the series because it really does reflect kind of the world we live in. Obviously there's superheroes in it, but it's a closer reflection than other universes we may have. So talk to me about the passion that you guys have for finding the characters of Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock and everybody else.
This is by far the longest job that I've ever had. And with any job I've ever done as an actor, I always, throw myself into it as much as I can. I really want to get to know the character. I really want to kind of understand, the tone of the piece, and just deliver as authentic and truthful and fun performance as possible with any character. So when you take that, I guess you'd call that, that's passion for my work, it's commitment, I guess, those kind of things. And when you take that and then you add 10 years to it, every time we come back to do another season, we're just doubling down on that passion that you referred to. So then, on top of that, when we're not filming or on our weekends, we get to come to, Comic-Cons like this and meet the fans and hear what they have to say and how many people express to us how important these characters are or how important the show is to them or what it's meant for them in their lives. What's really cool is like we're meeting adults who love this show who were children when they first watched it. Do you know what I mean? And it really was like, impactful for them in a period of their lives when they were growing up and leaving high school and going to college and this kind of stuff. So, and that, you know, that also kind of spurs us on to continue to try and do the best work we can. So, yeah.
Also, a lot happened when we were shooting it, when we started shooting for it again. Charlie and I, it wasn't as lucky for other people, but the actors went on strike. And when that happened, our bosses, the guys who run the studio, were allowed to look at the 6 we had shot. And that's when we started all over again.
And there was one thing conspicuously missing from the 6 episodes they shot, and that was Elden, Henson, and Wilson Bethel.
True.
I mean,
you were the glue. Turns out you guys were the glue.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the things, it was one of our first notes, if not our first note. In fact, I remember in this state, we got pitched the show at a table, and we were like, where's the rest of the cast? From the very first moment of the new show starting to leave the station, we were concerned.
Well, the right choice was definitely made. I'm happy that they listened to you guys because I can't see a world where there would be a different type of Daredevil not bringing back some of these iconic characters. This doesn't make sense.
Look, to this day, I can't believe, first of all, fine, that's great. I appreciate it so much, but I just can't believe that our bosses listen to us. I mean, it's not a normal thing in Hollywood. You know, they're the bosses, it's their job. We're there to service the story, that's our job. That's all we do, is actors service stories. That's what we do. It's not our job to turn around something. And the fact that these guys at Marvel were so cool enough to listen to us and actually take us seriously, I'll never forget that move that they made. It's just fantastic.
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing.